We do have a lot of cross-border work that we do. So regional education skills and jobs coordinators work with each other quite a lot on projects that, cross those borders that are on the maps, because a lot of the time when it comes to the realities of situations and working together, businesses extend over borders, schools might have catchments over borders, and we do want to work together and make sure that we get the best outcomes for everyone involved. I'll just run through the priorities in the Southern Inland Plan. So our first priority for the Southern Inland is to provide increased education, training and employment opportunities for Indigenous Australians in the region. So what does that mean? What we are working to do is to promote a productive and inclusive Australia. So that means working in early education to get more Indigenous students into preschool, working in school education to make sure that those students stay and actually have the chance to obtain a full education at school, to increase enrollments in university and vocational education, and to promote an inclusive workplace as well. So an example of how we could work together on that might be with an Indigenous employment strategy. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you commit to employing X number of Indigenous people every year. That means that you are taking into account the specific needs of Indigenous communities when you're recruiting and when you're planning training and when you're retaining workers in your workforce. So there's quite a broad scope there, and we are working on that with some businesses at the moment. So that might be something that we could help with. Our second priority is to support early childhood education and childcare providers to effectively transition to the National Quality Framework. So what that means is there are new government reforms that are to raise the profile of the industry. We're ensuring that all of our providers are trained at least to a Certificate 3 level and also to higher levels as well. So making sure that early childcare centers have access to training and that the staff are aware of what those requirements are as well, so that we can make sure that young people are getting the best education possible. And that relates specifically to issue number 3. So our third priority in the Southern Inland is to maximize early childhood education access and improve services for the benefit of the entire community, particularly for disadvantaged people in the Southern Inland as well. So making sure that people know what resources are available, how to access those, and to increase participation in early childhood education, because there is a big difference for students all the way through school education for those who actually get a preschool education to start. Priority number 4 for the Southern Inland is to increase the engagement of students to improve Year 12 completion rates. And when that comes to employment, it is a big asset for you to have students that have gone through the literacy training, the numeracy training. They are up to date with maths, geography, and social maturity as well. So improving Year 12 completion does actually benefit the entire community, but it is particularly relevant in this context to employers. One of the ways that we work to do that is by working to increase the uptake of school-based apprenticeships and traineeships in the region. So what school-based apprenticeships and traineeships are all about is undertaking the first year of study in Year 11 and 12. So in a traineeship, that might be the entire traineeship itself. In an apprenticeship, that would be Year 1 of the apprenticeship. And what students do is they'll go to school for 3 days. They go to TAFE or to another RTO for a day, and then they actually go to a workplace for a day. So across that sort of broad spectrum, not only are they developing those core skills from school, but they're also getting experience in an adult education environment, and they're actually getting experience in the workplace as well. So when that student graduates from high school, they're able to transition into your workplace with that background knowledge and with that ability to continue on and be successful in their school-based apprenticeship, which actually becomes a full apprenticeship at that stage. Now, there are significant financial bonuses for putting on a school-based apprentice or a trainee, and also bonuses if you keep them as a worker after they're done school. So there's a lot that we could talk about in that space if anyone is interested in looking at school-based apprenticeships and traineeships as well. Our priority number 6 for the Southern Inland is to work with relevant tertiary institutions to promote pathways to tertiary education and to increase bachelor degree attainment. So in the Southern Inland region as a whole, only 7.15% of people over the age of 15 have a bachelor degree. The target is quite high compared to that. We're aiming to have 40% of students actually have a bachelor degree in the next 8 years. So we have a lot of work to do in that space. So one of the ways that we can work to do that is to make sure that people are aware of the ways to go to university. It's not just based on an ATAR. There's lots of other directions that you could go. Working together with training organizations to make sure that people have the skills in place to actually be successful when they get to their degree as well. So there's lots and lots of work that can be done in that space, and that can be integrated into the workplace as well. So you may look at putting somebody into a certificate for traineeship or a diploma traineeship, and a lot of the time that will enable them to actually access university education as a pathway directly to university. So it's a really good option as well, and another way to build your workforce and keep those people with you long term as they build their skills. The seventh priority in the Regional Education Skills and Jobs Plan is to ensure that people within the region are appropriately skilled to capitalise on emerging opportunities. So what that means is that when we design training for our people, that we're not just doing training for training's sake, that we're looking at what skills people actually need and making a real plan so that when we're training people, it's useful and it actually benefits the business and it helps you keep your employees. And that has been the theme of most of the presentations tonight, making sure that we're doing what's contextually appropriate. So that is definitely one of the priorities today. And one of the ways that I could help with that is by working with a lot of the other people that are sitting here today on developing a plan where we can come together and share our resources and put something that will actually make a difference in your specific situation to try and get better outcomes for the people in Goulburn and for the people that work for you as well. So it's all about place-based approaches. So working specifically in the area with the local people, trying to develop something that will make sense here. The needs in Goulburn are going to be very different from the needs in other areas of the Southern Inland. There's 13 local government areas, and they are all very different. We have seasonal ups and downs. We have different industries, and those sorts of things need to be taken into account. Rolling out something across the entire area that maybe isn't taking into account those differences isn't going to help anybody, and it's certainly not going to be useful to you. So what I would really, really hope is that you will take a copy of my plan. They're on the back table. I'm inviting feedback. Please give me your feedback. I do want to know if there's certain issues you feel that we need to incorporate in the next version, or if there's ways that you think we can work together based on what's in there now. My contact details are also on the back table, and I would really like to work with you. We're here to help you, and we're here to work together to try and get better outcomes for people in regional Australia. So thank you again very much. Really appreciate your time tonight, and I'll hand it back to Colin. Jeez.